Good morning, Nigeria. On this beautiful Monday morning, I like to say that TVC has a finger on the pulse and our eyes constantly on the streets. And if it's a trending story, we are going to bring it on here and have some good and decent dialogue about it. In our first story, in a powerful act of patriotism and compassion, Air Peace carried out a free evacuation mission on the 10th of May 2025, flying 78 Nigerian women back home from Côte d'Ivoire after they were trafficked and stranded in the West African country. Now, this mission was the brainchild of Air Peace CEO and chairman, Dr. Alan Onyema, who in April vowed to bring these women back home at no cost at all. And true to his word, he not only organized their safe return, but also pledged medical and psychosocial support for the survivors. Onyema says, and I quote, "We're not just about flying aircrafts, we're about lifting lives." He also said that the suffering of the people of Nigerians anywhere in the world should concern everyone. And with this mission, Air Peace once again proves that it is more than just an airline. It's also a lifeline for Nigerians in distress across the world. I think that this is a shining example, if you ask me, of solid corporate social responsibility. He's not just prioritizing profit, but also purpose and making an impact in the lives of Nigerians. And this isn't the first time that he's been this magnanimous. In 2019, he brought back Nigerians who were stranded in South Africa after xenophobic attacks. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he flew Nigerians back to Nigeria who were stranded in other parts of the world. I say kudos to him. Let's take a look at social media. Blessing says, "God bless everyone involved for bringing them back home." And Jen Slaw says, "Good job. Trafficking only flourishes when a government fails to tackle its economy and take care of her citizens." Apparently, because the flight was delayed, the girls, I don't know what happened, but they wasted time. He lost millions and millions of naira, but it was for a good cause, and he said he was happy to lose that money if this type of issue arose again. In our next story, in a dramatic airport bust, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, foiled a brazen drug trafficking attempt at Port Harcourt International Airport, exposing the increasingly desperate and creative methods that drug traffickers now use to bypass security. On Sunday, the 3rd of May, Ihensekian Miracle Obehi, a woman dressed in a hijab, was caught trying to smuggle large quantities of cocaine on a Qatar Airways flight to Iran via Doha. Now, according to reports, there were 3 wraps of cocaine hidden in her private parts, 2 large parcels concealed in a false button handbag, and she'd also swallowed 67 pellets of cocaine. In a separate operation, the NDLEA also uncovered a cleverly modified fuel tanker with a secret compartment built into its underside, designed solely to hide and move illegal drugs across the country. The tanker was luckily stopped during a routine search, and it is frightening to see the increasingly elaborate lengths that drug traffickers are willing to go. This is very, very scary. My mother always said that if you have to hide something and hide something, then it's bad. Let's take a look at social media. I will forever commend the NDLEA for being so transparent on social media and carrying us along on these buses. Sijin says, "They saved her life. It would have been death if she was caught in Iran." That's not a lie. We'll take one more tweet. Millionaire businessman says, "Thanks to NDLEA, it is such people that make other Nigerians get ill treatment when they travel abroad." Very, very true. Now, team, we are unfortunately not such good news this morning with the NDLEA. We are seeing Nigerians increasingly desperate to make money at a quick cost.
It's a sad one that she had to, find herself in that situation, whatever it might have been. I'm not sure how much she was promised, such that she was ready to risk her life for this kind of transaction, because if she was caught, it should have been death sentence. It's unfortunate that persons like her are often being used to carry out this kinds of deadly activity, because at the end of the day, are you sure you'll make it back alive? But like you rightly pointed out, some persons, out of desperation, they go on these journeys. They do not see hope anywhere else except in things like this. I hope that she learns her lesson, whatever measure the NDLEA want to put in place in terms of if she be incarcerated and she'll be dealt with at the end of the day. But at the heart of this are those persons behind her traveling. If the NDLEA is able to get them and deal with them, ensuring that they face the full wrath of the law Now let me move over to Air Peace. Air Peace and the owner have often given their business a human face. Like you rightly mentioned, they have, airlifted Nigerians, even from Libya, from other countries, in South Africa, like you rightly pointed out, Olamide, during the xenophobic attacks. And when the Ukraine war began in 2022, they also collaborated with the federal government to airlift persons from Poland, Warsaw, to bring them back into the country. Air Peace has always been at the forefront of ensuring that they save the lives of Nigerians in places where there are issues, be it humanitarian issues or matters surrounding war. They have always put their foot forward, and it's a good one for them. Kudos to you, Dr. Allen Onyema, for this effort and for ensuring that Air Peace is always available to do this kinds of service.
I do not know how much to thank Air Peace, because this is a very good PR for them, whether it's a PR or humanitarian, but I believe humanity first is what they're doing, which is very good, beyond the PR. So this one thing I will just say is, for every one of us who travel out of the country, we should always do our due diligence. We should not be so desperate as to believe in the promises that we get from traffickers, who, so-called agents, who will take you, promising you greener pastures or blacker pastures, outside of the country, which you may eventually would see. So we say kudos to Air Peace, and I will advocate this for other airlines to follow suit, because we want it to be more Nigerian, more of humanitarian than over profit. Talk about the lady who is doing who is trafficking drugs, going to a country like Iran or Iraq or whatever country where you get there. Even if you go to China, if you go to Indonesia, they're going to exterminate you, they're going to execute you. And I think we should take tougher stance, over drug peddling, drug trafficking. Imagine a lady, Mercy, what's her name, clad in a hijab, and with the constant growing of Islamophobia as to, criticizing those who are wearing hijab due to their own faith, doing their own normal thing, characterizing themselves in good way, but you're having someone who is soiling, this, attire, this dress. So we should continue to clamp down on those who are doing this drug, those who are trafficking, and those who are buying and selling, the cartel. Kudos to NDLEA, they give us a dossier every weekend. It goes to show that they are really working, but we must take tougher stance against these people.
And with 14 million young Nigerians, engaged in drug abuse and addiction, substance abuse disorders, it's very important that these type of dissemination is stopped in its tracks. And in regards to Air Peace, you guys, does this make up for all the missed flights, all the flight delays that they put us through constantly?
It does not. It does not. But at the end of the day, they are doing something we can't commend them for. That's the bottom line for me.
Good one by Dr. Allen Onyema. Thank you so much, team. Moving on in our next story. The release of the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination results has sparked widespread reactions across Nigeria. Many candidates, along with their families and concerned Nigerians, are rejecting the scores and claiming that the results do not reflect their true performance. Now, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board announced the results on Friday, the 9th of May, and the backlash has been loud and swift on social media, with many calls for a thorough review of the results. Have a look at this video.
Last year I wrote JAMB, I got a score of 297, and I registered for system engineering in UNILAG, but due to some hitches in post-UTME and WAEC, I could not go there. So this year I wrote JAMB, I came prepared, I had studied over 25 past questions. Just to wake up this morning and check my JAMB results, and I got 155, which is very ridiculous, because in the first place, all the mock and CBT exams that I've written, I have never ever gotten less than 250, which is very surprising and shocking that JAMB can give me a score of 155. I don't know what to say, and I want everyone in Nigeria to speak up on this, because this is not the result. I've heard many complaints from Twitter and from different social media apps that people that did very well last year, that are capable of doing very well, are getting extremely low marks. Like me, because I had my exam on Monday the 28th, and it's like most people on that Monday they had problems because my system logged me out two times. So I don't know, maybe as it logged me out, the answer maybe submitted for me or something. So I really want to know what the problem is with JAMB. JAMB should be able to tell us what the problem is, and like where someone like me can drop from 297 to 155.
Now, that is just one video among over 15 of the that young candidates have come out to say this does not reflect my true score. But following this, the education technology entrepreneur Alex Onya, who is the CEO of Educare, is taking things a step further with these complaints. He's begun compiling a list of affected candidates in preparation for a lawsuit against JAMB, demanding that the results be re-examined. But JAMB spokesperson Fabian Benjamin has maintained that the candidates' results reflected their performance. He said that examination is the only test of ability and that most brilliant candidates fail exams, at times because of their overconfidence. Now, despite all this growing controversy, one student in Abuja has emerged as a symbol of hope. 16-year-old Olamide Adebirigbe, a student of Starville International School in Abuja, delivered an outstanding performance. He scored 98 in mathematics and that type of same score across all his subjects. But with the majority of other students disputing their scores, can the credibility of this year's UTME results withstand all the growing public scrutiny? People are calling that they want to see their results. Lots of candidates said that during the CBT exams, they were logged out several times. The exams were not complete. The exam questions were not complete. There were several glitches in the examination. But the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, has said that the only reason for these low performances across the country nationwide is because they did their best this year to curb exam malpractice, and so many people failed. High Chief Emmanuel says, finally, someone is standing up. JAMB must be transparent. Students deserve to see how they are graded. This could set a powerful precedent. We'll take two more tweets. Sami says, if JAMB is sure of their systems, let them open up for a forensic audit. We'll take one more tweet. That's all we have for now. Very interesting. In our next story, it seems as though the world, especially Africa, cannot get enough of President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. A video that is now trending online shows something that is truly remarkable, if you ask me. Civilians in Burkina Faso are sleeping in roundabouts every night to protect their president. These citizens call themselves the Wayiyans, which means come out in their local language. And what makes this even more extraordinary is that many of them are wealthy merchants and professionals. They go about their daily lives during the day, but at night, they gather at designated spots to keep vigil for any threats to Ibrahim Traore. Now, if anything suspicious happens, they sound the alarm. Have a look at this.
I heard that you all sleep on the streets just to protect your president. Is it true?
Okay, first of all, it's because of the love they have for the country.
Because of what?
The love.
The love for the country, okay.
And also, imagine they're sitting here and the president just passed and see them. That's kind of motivate the president. This is why they decided to go out and to be like, oh, if something happened in the country, they have to be alerted, so they can react immediately in order to protect the president.
When did this idea begin?
Okay. So he said when Ibrahim Traore became president.
Now, apparently, their street-level networks are so effective that they've actually helped foil several coup attempts. They share information, monitor movements by land, air, and water, and alert the president's convoy to potential danger. This is a powerful example of grassroots patriotism in Burkina Faso. And some citizens are not just supporting their leaders with words. They're actually not just cho-cho-cho, they're showing workings. They're standing watch for him every night. This is a big deal. Let's take a look at social media. Emmanuel Thompson says, if this isn't patriotism, then I don't know what this is. Long live Africa and its loyal leaders. We'll take one more tweet. Albert says, let them know that this is not sustainable. If the United States or any external force want to eliminate their leader, they can't stop it. They should go and sleep. Very interesting. The disturbing video you're about to watch in our next story, currently trending, shows a group of young women physically assaulting another young woman, reportedly over a relationship dispute. Now, while the full context of the video remains unclear, stipulations suggest that the confrontation had been sparked by issues involving a boy. What strikes me is the violence in this video, if it's going to play now.
I know. My inhaler. Yeah, your inhaler is no, it's not that. Wait, the top is oh yeah, wait. Angel, wait. What is the
Team, this is very interesting. On one hand, we've got, students, candidates of the JAMB exam, taking themselves very seriously and calling for accountability from the institution. Then you have people on the other side of the country, young people, our future leaders, slapping one another in this violent display that we just watched. What is going on?
Let me begin with the story on JAMB. I'm wondering if the Olamide, the student in Abuja that scored so highly, 98 in mathematics and all of it, is not part of the students that were scored in this JAMB. How is it that his scores were reflected correctly and others are crying and wailing as it is? JAMB has come out to say that it tightened the news against malpractices. That's why a lot of persons failed. Of course, there will definitely be glitches. Our system, our infrastructure, we still face all of those. Well, I would advise that for transparency and accountability, that JAMB opens its doors to people or parents so that they can scrutinize the scores and for people to know that this is a true reflection of their performance. At the end of the day, anything could have happened, but it's sad that we have gotten to this level where about only 420,000, over 420,000 scored above 200 out of 1.9 students that put in for JAMB. That's really low. It's a sad one, and parents should sit tight and begin to reflect. Also, the Ministry of Education and everyone in this space should reflect on our performance education-wise, how things are dwindling as we speak. Then talking about the ladies that were beating that young lady, it's sad that it has come to this. It shows the level of our values, what we value the most. I mean, there are other ways of addressing issues. You could have addressed it whichever way, as against beating the lady. What if she faints? What if she passed out? What if anything happened to her in the course of beating her up? But then, talking about the other story, Burkina Faso, I feel that these persons are just trying to protect their businesses, and all of that they are doing is just PR.
Well, let me talk about Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore. I think the young man had survived 19 coup attempts. People who are against his life, especially talk about the West, France, United States, etc. Because we know that we've experienced this, back in the day in 1973 or thereabouts, where they took out Thomas Sankara, who was the head of state for Burkina Faso. He was taken out by his own ally, with the in cahoot with his own ally, Blaise Compaoré. So one thing is, Africa is rising, Africa is growing. Although I won't support any coup attempt or anything, taking over the government, but we need to all wake up as Africans. Our leaders need to wake up, because Africans cannot take the backseat any longer. We want our continent back. We want to remove all of these nonsense borders that these founding father, by these foreign colonials drew over our continent, and separating us and dividing us over religion and all the nonsense that has been happening in Africa. I'll say kudos to Burkina Faso, but we want you to return to democratic governance so that we have a better country.
I wish I could agree with you, but I do not agree with you on some of the things that you have raised.
No,
just about 13 people out of over 2 million people. Yes, we cannot verify some of the
I'm not even talking about those
saying.
who are out. I'm talking about the coup attempt, the assassination attempt on Ibrahim Traore's life. Yeah, so, and I'm
how did he get into power in the first place?
I didn't support coup. If you listen to me very well, I didn't support coup. I said I would love to see Burkina Faso return to democratic governance. So that's the point I'm making. Can I ask
why that is, Ibrahim?
Carry on.
Can I ask why that is?
What did you say?
Can I ask why that is? Why would you like to see Burkina Faso return to a democratic rule?
Yeah, because that's the way to go. Because if you have democracy is representative government, although I have my own reservation against democracy, but then it is still the representative government where people come together to elect who they feel should represent them. So one thing is Burkina Faso has to return to democratic governance.
So what do you make of this military rule are now being even more loved and supported by some democratic democratic leaders?
Our time is up, but at the end of the day, it's for the people to be able to speak up about their representation at the end of the day. This is where we have to draw the curtains on the program for today. Let's let you know that the views and reactions of all our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News.